Also Politiker Daniel Günther hat zich zeer onbeliebt gemacht auf Markus Lanz. Ich habe diese Markus Lanz-Sendung gesehen und ich habe gehört, was der Herr Günther meinte über die Meinungsfreiheit und über die freie Presse. That's right, people. In 2026, the first couple of weeks of 2026, Germany's politicians are already trying to clutch onto whatever power they have left. They see it dwindling before their eyes. And so they are doing everything they can, including breaking the law, to try to hang on to power. Because we have a politician here. His name is Daniel Günther. He was on one of the on Marcus Lanz, which is like a talk program, but for bullshit, for lies. You know what I'm saying? Basically, Marcus Lanz is a deep state mouthpiece here in Germany, and all of the establishment politicians always get to go on there, and Marcus Lanz gets to pretend like he's asking them difficult questions, and he's putting them on the hot seat, kind of. But it's all just theater. It's like Congress in America. They don't actually do anything. They just sit there and talk a big game and get nothing done. So it's basically like that. And Marcus Lanz's job is secure because the government makes us as citizens pay for this state propaganda television every 3 months. So that's how it goes. And Daniel Günther was on there explaining that, look, portals like the news channel News, which is a news channel here in Germany, they're on the right, they're conservative, you could say. They're like Fox News. They're not, anything real wild or anything. They're pretty milquetoast, like Fox News, total supporters of Israel, the whole thing. But they're on the right, and they tell the truth. I haven't caught them lying once yet. You know what I'm saying? I listen to it pretty much every day. I haven't caught them lying once. Whereas the state propaganda media and the mainstream media is lying to the people all the time on behalf of the establishment. The establishment didn't like that. And the establishment all over the world doesn't like it. We know that since social media, the internet, YouTube, X, that kind of shit, these politicians in not any one of these so-called democratic countries, they can't run the show like they used to. They can't run things based on lies and bullshit that nobody can really verify because they don't live in the place that whatever thing happened, or, they don't know people in Iran and they have no way to verify if what's going on in Iran is really real. Now, we basically can verify. Not only can we verify, but we can go back and look at the things these politicians said 5 minutes ago, which was also caught on tape. They don't seem to think that people go back and look to see what statements they made before to see if it's the same thing as the kind of the statements they're saying now. Tons of politicians have been caught like that. They're like changed their view completely, and we're like, what the fuck happened? You know what I mean? And Daniel Günther on Marcus Lanz sat there and talked to somebody who proclaims himself to be a journalist and said, we need to set guidelines for what we consider quality media, which is basically the state propaganda, is what he's talking about. They're the quality media. They're the voices that the people need to hear because they're the ones spewing the most ridiculous, insane disinformation and propaganda. But that's exactly what the government mouthpieces want us to watch and believe, because that way they can continue to run the country based on lies and bullshit. Right? That's what their plan is. And they hate it that they can't do it. That's why there's this big push from the EU and authoritarian countries like Great Britain to take hold of the internet, to control the internet, to control what can be seen, to control what can be said. And Daniel Günther was like, we need quality checks for real media, and portals like News, which is the only news channel that I know in Germany that can actually be trusted, okay? Welt, the Welt is also one that you can trust, but you have to filter through it. Like, you have to be careful because they've got lefty writers in there that just bullshit, right? But News has not led me astray one time. Everything that I doubted from News, that I verified and checked if that was true, they were right about, even about shit that's going on in America. And a lot of the news stations here in Germany don't know shit about America, Donald Trump, or anything else, yet they like to spew their propaganda about it. And it pisses off Daniel Günther, that we, the people in the country, can verify if they, the politicians that are supposedly the leaders, are telling the truth or not. So he wants to ban, basically, the free internet media. So anybody like me, even, you know what I'm saying? But especially portals like Neos, especially outfits like Neos, because they're, you know, they're big, they're funded, they have an actual studio. It's a real thing, it's a real setup. You know what I'm saying? They do investigative journalism. They can send people out on the street. You know what I mean? So, you know, they want to get rid of those because they're going to become too influential. So Daniel Gunther's basically like, we are going to control the narrative. We need to ban companies like Neos, and we need to take control of the narrative because these people like Neos, he kept pointing to Neos because they're the only one he can point to, even though he probably never watched one episode of Neos. These people need to be shut down because they are pumping our children. This is what they always come up with, right? They're pumping our children's head full of disinformation. No, children don't watch Neos, right? It's a news program. That's not for children, right? So they don't have to worry about that, but they always try to frame things like that. Look, there's an attack on the freedom to speak in Germany and in all of Europe by the elite establishment politicians that want to cling on to power, whatever it takes. They don't care if they have to kill your fucking grandma at COVID. They don't care if they have to take away your rights. They don't care if they have to take away your right to speak. They don't care if they have to take away the freedom of the press. They don't care. They want power. They want to keep their power, and they don't give a fuck about any of the rules, the rights, none of that shit. And that's what Daniel Günther basically said. Now, I think he's a CDU guy, but I'm not sure. The CDU, SPD, all of these establishment politicians are basically, to me, they're all in one big uniparty. They're all jerking each other off all day, every day. Nothing's getting done in the country. And the only alternative the country has is the alternative for Deutschland, the AfD. We all know it. You guys should know it by now. Look at the state of the country. Look at what these politicians are trying to do. They're trying to take away your right to speak and right to be informed by different sources than government-approved sources. And Daniel Günther would basically get rid of all freedom of speech rights in this country if he had his way. Now, I guess the kind of light at the end of the tunnel is that it looks like I've listened to a couple of German lawyers like Joachim Steinhöfel, which is a really good media lawyer, really good freedom of speech lawyer here in Germany. He's won a lot of cases, you know what I mean? And so I trust him when he says what Daniel Günther did is illegal. He can't, as a government person, go out there and attack a free press organization like Neos and call them disinformation or fake news without any evidence. He can't go out there and advocate to have people's rights taken away as a government person. And the funny thing is, he doesn't even know that. You know what I'm saying? How could somebody that works for the government not know the fucking rules and the laws that they are supposed to live by? Well, why is that? Because they don't care. They know they're never going to be held accountable anyway. So the rules and the laws only matter when they can point them at us, not when it gets pointed at them. So it's not weird that Daniel Günther doesn't know the law concerning his own post in government. But apparently, according to Steinhöfel, apparently what Daniel Günther did was illegal because he cannot, as a government representative, get out there and say, we want to take away ground rights, basic rights of our citizens, and also strangle the free press. He even came up with a thing like, we've got to find these disinformationists and use that money to give it to the state propaganda. The guy's insane. He should leave his post immediately. This is grounds to step down. And you know what was the weirdest thing? It's not really that weird, but what I noticed, and probably a couple other people noticed, is that you don't hear a peep out of the fucking propaganda media about this, because they know that what Daniel Günther is talking about is not going to affect them. Yes, Daniel Günther wants to attack the freedom of the press in the country, but he knows and they know. It's like wink, wink, nod, nod. We're only going to get rid of the guys we don't like, guys. Don't worry about this. They're, of course, not thinking about when the AfD gets in power, which, if the country has any sanity left, will be the next possible chance that they can vote. They will get in power. What they're forgetting is when the AfD gets in power, they can use these same rules that they set and go after the state propaganda disinformationists. They can say, look, News is a top act, class act. They tell the truth. They do investigative journalism. And what these state propagandists do is just spew propaganda for the establishment. And so we're going to cut their funds and give it to News. How's that? We're going to get that money for News and free portals and free individuals making content online, podcasters, that kind of stuff. Just like in America. Now there's podcasters in the White House asking questions. That's how it's going to be here with the AFD if these people are not careful with the crazy rules they want to implement, right? But he doesn't care. Now, I'm glad to know that this will probably not ever happen because Steinhövel, the lawyer, says that's insane. It's illegal. He can't do that. It's not going to happen. The courts won't go along with it. And Neos is actually filing suit against Daniel Günther, which is great, but I don't really foresee him seeing any serious consequences. He should be gone already. His party should have thrown his ass out and said, you cannot go out there as a German representative of government and tell the citizens, we're going to take away your basic rights because I don't like what Nia says because it's the truth, right? And we have this problem all over the Western world. Everywhere where the truth is told, the establishment politicians want to get rid of it. They want to crush it. And that's because one thing, they're losing power. And the reason they're losing power is because people are waking the fuck up. They're investigating themselves, they're researching themselves, and they're seeing these people are full of shit and we cannot vote for them anymore. And that is a big problem for them. That's why they're doing this. And hopefully Daniel Günther gets taken out of his position, but he probably won't because Wolfgang Weimar is still, Wolfram, whatever the fuck his name is still there. He's caught being corrupt, with his fucking publishing company. I haven't heard shit about it anymore. They're protecting him. Nothing's going to happen to him. Same thing as in the States. Even though Trump is there, the deep state is being protected. Corrupt Democrats are being protected. And nothing is getting done. No accountability, not for COVID, not for anything. Same thing is here in Germany and in most of the Western world. They will never go after their own. And when they say they want things like quality controls on media, they mean only the media they don't like. And that's why Marcus Luntz didn't get upset with this guy. If I was Marcus Luntz, I'm like, hold on a second, dude. You're calling for my job to be attacked. You're calling for me to be put under a microscope and saying that we spew disinformation. Who's it going to be? You that decides what's the not disinformation and what disinformation is? No, Marcus Luntz just goes, oh, yeah. So you want to ban and censor everything. Yeah. And then Günther says, yeah, exactly. I want to censor everything. That's right. And Marcus Luntz doesn't even peep. You know why? Because Marcus Luntz knows they're not talking about me. They're talking about my competitors. So he's happy about it because it'll be a way to get the competitors out through German bureaucratic regulation. Hey, this will probably never happen. You don't have to worry about it too much, I don't think. I don't think it's ever going to happen. But people that are supposedly representing the interests of the German people do not have the allowance to get up on TV and say that they're going to take away the rights of the citizens that put them in office. That's insane. The guy should be brought up on charges for treason. That's what should happen to him. He should actually probably go to prison. Because if you almost go to prison for putting a sign on Nancy Faeser that says, I hate freedom of speech in a meme, right? Then for this, as a state representative, you're a treasonous motherfucker. You're a cocksucking piece of shit. And you should be put in jail. At the very least, you should lose your fucking job. If we're going to measure by the same measurement as they treat the citizens, this dude's job should be over. This dude's life should be over. He should be debanked. He should lose all the rights he has as a private citizen, because that's what he's advocating for us to happen to us. He's advocating for us to lose our rights at his will because he doesn't like shit that we say. Well, that's fucking nuts. And fuck you, Daniel Günther. Slick my balls, Daniel Günther. You're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. You belong in jail. Get the fuck out of here. Nobody wants you. You should just quit your job while you're ahead, because with any luck at all, the next time elections come around, your ass is going to be replaced by an AFD guy or gal. And I'm going to laugh my ass off with both fingers in the air, bitch. That's right. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to dance on your grave because I fucking hate the establishment, and I hate all the representatives of the establishment, and I hate all the people that protect the establishment. I don't care if it's here or in America. You're all scum. You're all cocksucking scum. We hate you. That's the message. All right, people. Just say whatever you want, write whatever you want, post whatever you want, and get your news at news or from podcasters or your own research instead of listening to these fucking morons tell you what to think and how to think instead of just giving you the facts. That's what my suggestion is. Fuck Daniel Günther. He's a fucking cocksucker.